Welcome to Wednesday Night Undress. I'm Jeremy Taylor, the Brit on the radio in your luggles. And let me introduce our team for tonight, the indefatigable and always irrefutable Kathleen Taylor.
Oh, thank you.
A man who is easily recognisable, just Josh.
Good evening.
Good evening. The Transylvanian Dark Lord of literature and some pheromones.
Bonjour, Monsieur Jérémy.
Mon Bulgarian, naughty Bulgarian.
Bonjour, Jérémy Taylor.
The most interesting man in the world's smarter brother, the magic Dr. Orlando.
I say, Jeremy, good day.
Are we all doing voices today? That would be
Is that what
fun.
we're doing?
Yes.
You really like my French laugh.
So, without further ado... Now you stop being a naughty little Bulgarian, you. Let's start with the first question for the panel. Slightly smaller panel tonight. Artificial intelligence. In the future, we will be able to buy artificial intelligence, upgrade our own personal intelligence. How do we feel about that? What will it look like? And how will it work? You know, will we be able to just walk into the chemists or something and say, hello, I'd like an injection of artificial intelligence? Or will it be something that we plug our little finger into? What do you think?
You're talking about morphing between humans and programs.
Well, I'm thinking...
Morphing as opposed to completely artificial intelligence. Because what you're talking about is organic human beings morphing with artificial intelligence.
No, I wasn't, actually.
Okay.
What I was talking about, young Evo, my friend, is... you see that cell phone next to you?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
You will be able to talk into that cell phone, right? Someone will ask you a question, okay?
Yes.
And you'll be able to look at the cell phone and it will give you an answer. And then if you want to spend more money, it'll give you a deeper answer so that you'd actually be able to have an argument with Dr. Orlando.
So you're saying just, upgrading your Siri or your Alexa to a higher version?
But there will come a point when your cell phone will talk to your brain, won't it?
Sure.
And that's what I mean. And you'll walk into a store and you'll be able to buy...
Yeah.
A brain upgrade.
Yeah,
a brain upgrade.
Yeah, so merging with...
Is that what I meant?
Yeah.
It's what I meant?
Yeah, morphing.
Well, why didn't I say that in the
and...
first place?
Well, no. It's very interesting concept, and like you said, it's going to be probably chips eventually. There's going to be at first there's going to be resistance. People, as they become more and more organic and more miniaturized, the resistance.
Resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile, of course. But my point is that as they become smaller and smaller, move towards the nanoscale, become very non-intrusive, people's resistance to this kind of invasive implant will probably diminish, and that this will become part of our beings. You know, it's almost inevitable.
You pop into Best Buy,
Yeah.
and Apple will sell you some artificial intelligence that you can keep, which may let you, you can use it for 6 months.
That's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing.
You're
we're
saying
buying...
after 6 months, I lose the intelligence?
Well, I'm just
you have to upgrade
I'm
it.
making up as I go along, but I'm thinking, what's it going to look like?
That's exactly what we're doing right now. We're going into the Apple Store, purchasing artificial intelligence. Now the new version is costing $1,000, and living with that piece of artificial intelligence.
So how come people
and
are acting just as stupidly as ever?
It's the questions that they ask artificial intelligence that makes them stupid.
Behavior's not.
I kind of
How
feel
can
like
behavior change?
we're conflating our terms.
Yeah.
So, like, generally speaking, artificial intelligence is something that mimics human intelligence.
Correct.
So it is usually not a part of humans. It's usually an external thing. I think that Evo's right when he says you are talking about morphing or a hybridization of humans. And I think that those are two distinct questions, because I think the first question is exactly what Evo says. We are currently buying something that mimics human intelligence and carrying it around with us and using it to recall facts, to communicate with other people.
And it's getting better and better. Alexa and Siri, and those are getting better.
As you picked up your phone, it started flashing because you're touching the screen.
Artificial intelligence is something outside of ourselves that is becoming smarter and smarter, that will thought processes that'll be smarter than us at some point.
Yeah.
But we won't be able to plug into it to
Right.
get anything from it. That's not going to download into us it'll just be smarter than us.
Well,
And then
that's a scary thought, and this has been a topic of conversation lately with Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
They've been discussing the dangers of artificial intelligence, not the one we're purchasing, the one that is being developed
Yes.
to mimic us. And of course, the big fear is that the recursive self-improvement programs will eventually outpace us. We are limited by our by the slow pace of our biological evolution.
Speak for yourself, man.
Whereas as a humanity, with those entities and those artificial neural networks that are being built, they're not bound by anything. And if they surpass us and develop superintelligence, then we have to deal with singularity and existential threat to our
And it'll happen
humanity
so
existence.
fast. Once they hit a
Yes.
certain point,
Yes.
it'll be boom.
Yeah. Once we reach the singularity or the point of no return,
That's
You're talking about the Bridget Fonda movie?
Well,
no.
you say that, but we already buy stuff to make ourselves more effective. There are 1, 2, 3 of us at the moment wearing glasses, so there's nothing wrong. We don't think there's anything strange in enhancing our eyesight.
No. The danger here is for these programs exiting their utility function, completely exiting it, because once they start the self-development reaches a certain pace, they will no longer be interested in performing utility functions. So this is where the danger is of a entity. They always used to represent it in science fiction as a robot. As like they anthropomorphize the artificial intelligence, but really what it's going to be is probably just going to be a program that's in everything, everywhere, controls the internet, or something like HAL 9000. That's like the first movie, 2001: Space Odyssey, that represented artificial intelligence as a program, not something that looks like a human and moves. And you know what I was thinking recently that kind of freaked me out? Do you remember what it looked like? HAL 9000. It looks exactly like the new Nest thermostats that people are buying. And have you seen those Nest thermostats?
No.
Yeah, it looks exactly.
Oh, they're
like
round.
Round, and they blend. And
There's one in the office.
and I was thinking, man, this is a smart home artificial intelligence, basically.
So you don't think, going back to the question of what's it look like, you don't actually think we will be able to go into Best Buy, for example, and say, right, I want to upgrade my intelligence by...
Oh, so I see what you mean.
10 IQ points.
10 IQ points.
And they'll plug something in or wirelessly
or something will happen.
push a button, wirelessly upgrade
You'll have something attached to your ear or something.
That is very
What do you think, Dr. Orlando?
I think Evo was on to the right answer when he first started. And I think that there's a difference between the notion of non or inorganic enhancements or non-natural enhancements to our abilities versus artificial intelligence. And I think it's exactly what Evo said. Right now, you can go and get a circuit imprinted in your arm that will, unlock doors for you, things like that, as merely convenience. And people are actually signing up to do it. It is not a case that this is being forced on them. This is what people want to do.
That's what's so scary.
And to be completely honest, if I didn't have intense privacy concerns, it sounds like a cool idea. Don't have to carry keys around anymore. Just literally walk up the door, knows who I am, and it will let me in.
But we've seen enough Black Mirror episodes not to do that.
Goddamn right. So that's an enhancement, and we're already living in an age where we have things like nootropics, chemicals that people ingest to try to enhance their intelligence or whatever physical or mental ability that they want. So the idea that people will balk at possibly adding a circuit to their body that makes them do whatever that thing is better. It's almost impossible to deny. I think that, again, if we don't kill ourselves through, not taking care of the planet or nuclear war or whatever, I think it is almost a foregone conclusion that this is what will happen.
Will wipe us out?
Yeah, well, no, I think that the whole idea of like inorganic enhancements will become part of just who we are, and we won't think anything more of it than we do.
But we don't
carrying
think
around a
we
cell
don't
phone.
think anything of, say, a pacemaker, for example.
I think about them all the time. They turn me on.
And that sort of stuff. We are not very far away at this point. Also, someone who has had a bad, let's say, a skiing accident or a motorcycle accident or some sort of where they've broken their back, but their back is physically, to all intents and purposes, still there, still operating. It's the linkages from the fibers, if you like, that go down their back, and they're not very far away from being able. I mean, they can now make things work, with pulses and very low-level electronic pulses. There's a guy we know who is walking again, just about, with certain pulses and stuff like that. And I remember talking to a surgeon from Edinburgh University 30 years ago, who said, if they would but stop worrying about cancer, because a lot of cancer is self-inflicted. He was talking about smoking, and spent that money on the research we do, we could have people walking again who have been told you will never walk again, and are. He said it's just about having enough people to process, and deal with the things we want to deal with. And that's why I was thinking, we don't mind putting something in if we've had a heart attack or we've got a dicky ticker. Yeah. We don't mind putting something in there, right?
Yeah.
Mechanical.
The first thing that will happen with this is, and how it will get through to the brain, is somebody will have a brain injury, and they'll say, "Hey, we can put this thing in there, and then it'll help with the brain injury."
Yes,
that's where we'll start.
We can make him better.
That's where it'll start.
And
Stronger.
then what will happen? It perhaps
nobody recognizes the Bionic Man.
Yes,
$6 million
we can
man.
rebuild him.
And RoboCop is pretty much the same concept.
It is today I can do the cognitive test that Trump did and get maybe 25 out of 30, But because I had this brain injury, now I can get 45 out of 30.
Oh, when you said 25 out of 30, you were talking hypotheticals. Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of inevitable. These kind of enhancements are coming. They're coming also on genetic level. We've talked about the CRISPR. The genetic delivery through viruses, genetic enhancements. But what I am worried about is actually sentient or semi-sentient artificial intelligence, that because we are trying to develop those systems, because we are trying to develop Siri and Alexa and take them to the next point, because we've developed Watson and Deep Blue. You remember Watson was Jeopardy champion, beat everybody. Deep Blue beat Kasparov in chess. We are trying to improve them, but this is happening kind of almost in a lab, that we don't really know about it. Elon Musk, he had a big interview where he said, you have no idea how fast it's happening in the Silicon Valley and outside of Silicon Valley, in China, in Japan, all over Korea, Russia. You have no idea the leaps, the giant leaps that they're making in developing artificial intelligence. And this is why he's scared. He said, I am scared because superintelligence, the problem is with developing superintelligence, we just ourselves are not going to be intelligent enough to predict the outcomes and where it's going to lead us.
You task a superintelligent network with the task of, say, fixing the environment for the world so that we can combat global warming, because we're going to have a huge problem with that. And the superintelligent network fairly soon comes to the conclusion that we wouldn't have this problem if there weren't any humans messing stuff up. So what's it going to do?
As it is right now, we have things like Facebook. Facebook uses artificial intelligence for to tag photos, to target ads. We have Alexa for recall intelligence. It's basically a search engine and voice recognition program, but this is actually by definition is artificial intelligence. It's just narrow artificial intelligence. When we talk about general artificial intelligence, that's when things get scary. We're talking about sentience. We're talking about artificial neural networks that are really, we don't know where it's going to take us, and the humanity has to be very careful in developing those things.
So, Jeremy, have you heard about the artificial intelligence experiments that Google is doing right now, or technically Google's parent company, Alphabet? They recently had to shut off 2 of the AI computers that they've built because they started talking to each other in a language that the humans could not decipher. So we literally had no idea.
3 months ago or so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
About 3 months ago, we literally had to shut the machines off because we don't know. They already could have been plotting to kill us.
You know,
Guaranteed.
you know what else worries me? The military, because obviously organizations, institutions like DARPA, they have collected the best of the best minds that the world has to offer, of course, and they are developing things that we are not aware of. We know that there's like 50 or more countries that are experimenting with battle robots that can make decisions. You've seen the frightening videos that can make decisions on the battlefield. And those are intelligent decisions. Evaluate situations, react, attack, and so on and so on. Now, the problem is, like, DARPA gives artificial intelligence to an entity that doesn't have any intelligence, like our government right now. You know, and then you are in a very, very scary situation. You know, you have.
Well, I mean, you guys are just predicting Terminator. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
Terminator, that's why the story was so, it resonated the way it is, because it is, not the time travel, but everything else is pretty much conceivable.
So we would put ourselves in a situation where we develop something that we can't. It's
Frankenstein. It's Mary Shelley.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's it is something that I think we all think is kind of a foregone conclusion that at some point
But
we're going to invent
the
some
consensus
technology
seems
that
to
we
me
can't control.
It seems to me that we don't actually like it very much.
Wrong. I love it. I love
And
all
I welcome
technology.
all of you being able to get up to my level.
The question here is this. We develop, one of the many questions, we develop an artificial intelligence that outpaces us, our own evolution. But there's no emotional intelligence. We don't know what that is. We can't simulate it. We probably will never be able to develop emotion or moral codex, ethics. Machine ethics,
or a judgment call, right? Like in that moment, that gut.
So you
decision.
have this super intelligence without any remorse, without any repentance, without.
Good God, you're predicting a whole army of orange-colored robots with
bad hair,
and intelligence. Wouldn't that be scary?
Yeah.
Then I'm predicting a meteor after that, so it all doesn't really matter because it's going to kill everything.
Well, thank God for the meteor.
See, that's why we're developing it all, because it's going to help us solve problems like a meteor.
It won't. Meteor's a meteor.
You guys are getting silly.
Well, there's one going to travel near the Earth in the very near future.
Well, one hit Detroit. One hit Detroit this week and caused a earthquake.
If it hit downtown Detroit, nobody would have noticed.
No one noticed.
Exactly.
So let's move on to the next question I've got, and that is, given today's gender and identity fluidity, is it time to consider the notion, as Ian Fleming of James Bond fame did before the last war, of a 27th letter of the alphabet?
Jesus Christ.
To represent those who eschew he or she.
No.
Who don't want to be
no.
seen as, no, you can't do no. That's not allowed, team. You know that. You actually have to discuss it.
Use letters to signify anything. They're part of a word. We've got 26 perfectly nicely working letters. We might need to come up with a new word, but adding a new phoneme to our pretty well-defined set is way more work.
Well, how many letters are there in the acrylic
Cyrillic? Acrylic. 28. So,
How many?
28.
20, sorry?
8.
8. 28.
Eight.
And in the proper alphabet?
There's no proper alphabet. So
20, 20, how many is that, Lewis? How many in the
24.
normal? 20?
We counting base 10, yeah, it'd be 26.
26. And then the Cyrillic is 28.
Right.
So we could have another couple of letters if we wanted then.
I can see. I don't think any another letter in the alphabet, but I can see the need for a different pronoun. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
He, she, make it she. I don't know. People generally identify one way or the other, though. So you just use whatever they prefer.
This has gotten out of control. You're either a man or a woman. What's up with the gender fluidity? You know, you can decide if you're born a man and you want to be a woman, be a woman. But we've gone crazy. I'm not making this up. Last week, some idiot. Apparently, there are people now that say that they're trans age. So they basically
so cool.
They basically say we are people whose age whose age doesn't correspond to the day that they were born. You know.
Okay. Can you still get Medicare?
32 years old.
And so this guy who's 47 and has 6 kids left his family. I'm not making this up. Google this. Left his family and got adopted, but he has adoptive parents, and he is living his life now as a 6-year-old girl. And he's playing all day long, and there's some crazy people who decided to adopt him.
Another use for Trump.
So we're getting out of control.
Why do you care? I mean, the reality is, people should, if it's gonna make him happy to be a 6-year-old girl, and he feels like a 6-year-old, why do we care about it? Why?
You are not a 6-year-old girl, Duke. You are a 47-year-old man who now has left his children and family, and he's living a fetish, and he's just completely
You're probably
avoid
not going to
all
invite him over
responsibility.
to play with your own 6-year-old.
Sure, but it sounds like
True.
it's deeper than that, right? It's not just like, hey, I decided to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not fooling around on some level with his mental health. There's
There's-
something going on.
No, of course there's tons of issues. First of all, what's going to stop the trans-aging community from starting to go to school, and playing basketball tournaments?
This is my plan. What are you talking about?
Yes.
This is the best idea I've heard on this podcast in the last 2 years.
Yes. We're going to have NBA in high school.
My interest is that we seem to be, with the world that we're moving into now, missing words and missing, for example, the phrase "I like,"
Yeah.
Big butts and I
or
cannot lie.
no, I like.
No other brothers can deny.
The opposite of
When a
that
girl
is
walks in
I
with
don't
the-
like.
Yeah.
Right? So I like, we're using the word like, and I don't like, we're using the word like again. That's I don't like.
How about saying dislike?
What about which comes under the heading of don't like.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. So if we were to walk out into that room and pick someone we never met, do I like them or I don't like them? I'd like to have something that uses the word like, right, but is neutral.
I'm lost a little.
Okay, you mean
What
there's,
I'm getting
there's
at
certain
is-
concepts that you don't have one word for?
Yeah, there's two guys sitting
Well,
over
there's
there,
lots of
right?
concepts you don't have one
We
word
don't
for.
know who they are. The choice I've got with the word like is I either don't like them or I like them.
Yeah, but that's just because we set up the word as a binary choice.
So
Like, there
why
is
can't
a
we
word that means I neither like nor dislike,
Oh,
You can
what's
say
that?
I'm acquainted with them.
or I am indifferent to.
Indifferent, yeah.
No, that's sad. No, you see, most people would say that was rude, and you are.
Oh, yeah.
I'm indifferent to them.
Okay, how about I'm acquainted with them?
Or how about I don't know them,
But
so
you're
I
not.
can't make a judgment either way.
Yeah,
They're unknown.
yeah. There's,
That's
I mean,
a psychiatrist. That's the old.
You just don't
as
create new words just because.
You can.
Yeah,
I create words all the time. I kind of get your point. Sometimes sometimes you feel like there's a word missing.
I'm not as daft as you
Sometimes
think
feel
I
like
look.
a
I am.
nut, and sometimes you don't.
But
Well, it's put this way. I think that there's my read of Jeremy's question is, why do we live in a binary world? Why do we categorize things as either one or the other?
Yeah.
Which I think is a little bit more thought-provoking as an exercise, but I think it's ultimately just an exercise. I think that we are just used to being in a binary or perceiving things in a binary existence.
I
think there was a
disagree.
time where there was more fluidity, and then that changed, and it became more
as we became more
binary.
polarized.
Now, when you say
Right,
that,
and then now we're the pendulum is swinging back to saying, "Hey, I don't have to be one thing or another. I'm feeling this
I feel
today,
I feel
or
fluid.
I feel 6 today,
Yeah.
but tomorrow,
Yeah. So
I'm gonna feel 26."
Yeah. So Jeremy's saying there should be words that describe a status between man and a woman, or something like this, or.
Yeah, I mean, what about people who, which we can deal with today, but we couldn't do 50 years ago, where a male person who has male genitalia
Ooh, tell me more.
fancies either men or women. It don't care.
I think there's quite a lot of those guys.
He'd like to jump on males and females, and females the same. They'd like to jump on females or males. They don't mind.
Well, there's polyamorous, or what is it?
That's so we're the difference is you're trying to figure out between what's your sexual identity versus what is your sexual preference.
Your gender is your gender.
Your gender is your
like.
gender, but there's biological gender, right? The thing that and there's what you feel inside.
There's
And that's the difference of what's going on these days. Is there are people that are
Unless you're a
born
hermaphrodite.
physically-
hermaphrodite. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't use that word anymore. Just
Really?
FYI.
I didn't know
What
that.
is the word?
So, is there a term that is used?
That there is a term, but I don't know what it is right off the bat. But that is considered
It's
not
an
a very kind
ancient
word to
Greek.
use.
Yeah.
No, but there are
term.
people who are born that way.
Yeah, with
I don't mean
with
people.
with both sex
Yeah.
organs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both sex organs.
Yeah, you don't
A
ever
penis and
see
a
them
vagina.
And
I don't know
because
if
they
we can
are
say that.
incredibly successful
Yeah.
porn stars. Let me tell you.
they you don't see them all ever because they have no reason to leave home.
Well,
So here's
Yeah.
the
so usually when people are born with both sex organs, somebody's decided what they're going to be. A doctor has decided, or the parents have decided. So you don't see a lot of that
Yeah.
in the world because they make that decision at birth for them.
And
So
usually
a lot of that
hormones determine.
And
you-
so
you
then,
know,
and so
your
they
identity.
haven't developed enough when they're born. So then they make a decision, and then that's where a lot of the times
And
people feel
decision leads to incision,
that's right,
and
then they feel
and then
different
they
on the
become
inside.
one or the other.
Decision leads to an
Yeah.
incision
here's my
with scissors.
my take on the whole thing, though. I think that we have this problem of either saying you are this or you are that, or we go the other way. And we have now literally moved from talking about maybe a term that is a third term to differentiating between women who sleep with women, women who sleep with men, and women who sleep with women and men. So we went from 2 terms to identify a thing, to categorize a thing, to 6 terms
Yeah,
to
but-
categorize these things.
No.
Women that sleep with women, women that sleep with
They're
men,
simply
women that sleep
bisexual.
with both, men that sleep with women, men that sleep with men, men that sleep with both. Basically, the way that this conversation goes is we either stick with the groupings that we find naturally appealing to us and damn the people that feel like they need a special qualifier, or we give everybody a qualifier and resent the fact that we're giving everybody qualifiers.
I hate this whole idea of you have to label everybody.
I'm
most
with you.
people
That's
just
ultimately the problem.
you know, this
Yeah.
person who is, I don't know what. Well, that's Mary. Okay.
Right.
Because that's what name that person wants to be known as. That's Mary.
I 100%
Who cares?
agree, and there's no real reason to then segregate marry into this group.
But
or
you're
that
saying
group.
that man or a woman is a label. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
it
kind
is.
of
It
no,
is.
we're kind of pushing it. I mean, come on. So this idiot that decided he's a woman and started competing in the MMA and was like literally beating women's heads into the floor and was hurting them. So that's a label. He said, I refuse the label. I'm labelless, so I'm going to compete. No, some labels are needed. Some labels are needed by social.
Only if you're going to go with
constructs.
physical, what they call sports that are actually hurting each other. I mean, that's a fault of the sport, for heaven's sakes. Why don't you get into something where people aren't competing based on their physical strength or something? It's just
Well, we know
that's an artificial
gender.
So
that
if you're
males,
a male,
I mean, males and females are physically different. So
Yeah,
gender-wise, physically different. We understand that.
we're created
But-
different.
But if you want to be, if you were born a male physically, but you feel like your gender's a female, what do we care?
You know how much your gynecologist will hate you? Do you realize?
I appreciate a good gynecologist.
I'm a female.
I guess,
Give me the stirrup.
I guess, whatever, I wouldn't want anybody to tell me how to feel or look or whatever, so I'm not going to do that to somebody else. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, I guess for me, like, the notion that we put things into categories is human. Like, that's what we do.
Well, we have to define something, right? Like, when we see something, we have to say, for the longest time, I can remember growing up that you're like, well, that's a man, but, well he's a black man, right? That's how we decide between black and white. So it's like and then it was not okay to say that. Well, I'm supposed to be just a man. Well, no. I understand that it's okay to be different. It's okay.
Right.
That's the issue at hand, is we're not okay with people being different.
Well, I'm not sure that it's necessarily that, as much as we have different levels of privilege for different groups.
Sure.
And if you are part of this group, you have the privilege of defining the categories and therefore assigning different attributes to the categories. And if you happen to be the group that gets the privilege of saying this group over here is lazy, then that group that you're calling lazy is going to resent it.
Yeah.
So, Kath, are you offended by the label to be called a woman?
No.
Are you offended? Are you okay with being labeled a woman?
Sure.
And a girl when you were younger?
Yeah.
Couple years ago, but so I myself,
with being called Kathy.
Oh really?
That is not
Not
good.
my name.
No, that's
Kathleen.
really bad
Nope,
news.
Kathleen.
Kathleen.
Or Kathleen, but not Kathy.
Kathleen.
Yeah, that'll
Very
I'll
funny.
trouble you for.
Yeah. So I've always been okay with my label of being a guy or a man. I don't understand.
What if I was not okay with my label of as a man?
And what would you be?
That's fine by me.
I'd be Lou. I would insist that, like, you stop referring to me with these gender-specific.
Right. Like,
Yeah. How dare you label me?
Lou is a label too. Why not take it further and say,
Louis.
hey, can I refer to you as that symbol that Prince decided to
Oh, I
adopt?
would love that. Can mine be purple too?
I want to be a symbol.
So when
How about you? Oh,
me, you
boom!
are a
I want to be
symbol.
this
Yeah.
symbol.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to sign my name at work.
so
One
when I
finger salute.
so
Yeah.
when I
So I can always be number one.
so when you answer the phone, you'll say, hi, this is.
Actually, in that case, if I had an unpronounceable symbol as my name, I would say probably, hello, you've got me.
Yeah. This is me. Yeah.
Yeah. This is me, and if you don't know who I am, then quit calling me.
Yeah, we're calling.
Exactly.
Everything's a label.
As we motor our way through, I'd like to ask another question because I'm not sure
here we
what
go.
the answer to that one, the last one, was. But here's the thing: why don't guys, particularly me, get catcalled? Why do women?
That's a long question to
Why
answer,
do-
Where do you
Jeremy.
want me to start?
Yeah. Why do women get offended when men admire them physically, but it seems to be okay the other way around? Why do they get offended when men? And just because
I'm
a
not
man
touching this first. You
just,
go right ahead.
I'll
just
go
because,
right ahead.
hang
You don't
on,
have to raise your
hang on,
hand or
hang on.
nothing.
I'm finished
Yeah.
yet. And just because a man says a woman is gorgeous, does not mean that he wants to jump on her.
Okay, where do I start? Let's see. Catcalling.
Or
You can
Kath
s-
calling.
Yeah, whatever. You
In
say
this
you
case.
say if somebody gets catcalled, that's the same as a man saying a woman is gorgeous, or saying admiring a woman physically. No, catcalling is a bunch of guys on a construction site saying, "Hey, baby, come on over here. Ooh, look at the ass." Ooh. That's catcalling. That is not admiring somebody physically. That is being offensive.
Well, I will ask that you describe or explain why it's offensive. I have my own notion, but I'm a guy.
That's because it's looking at it's treating this woman as an object to be called over and have sex with. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just dehumanizing. It's terrible.
Also, I've always wondered. First of all, I want to say that I've never witnessed catcalling except on TV and in the movies.
it all the time.
And you've seen it all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, yeah.
And which
and it's very
you're
disturbing
seeing
to me that
Sorry, I
first
didn't
of
hear you.
all,
Sorry.
it's extremely disturbing. The very idea of it is very disturbing to me because first of all, catcalling, as I understand it, it happens on the street, right? It happens mostly outside or
It's
in
what happens when
Yeah.
guys get a bunch of them together, enough.
Do they
enough
have
of
to
them
be
together
many of them?
to get some courage?
Oh,
I'm
I don't
sure
even
it's
think it's that.
happened-
I've seen guys whistle at a girl from their car.
Yes,
Walking down the
yes.
street.
Anywhere
So there
where
was-
she can't reach him with a baseball bat.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the street is not a safe place, and I can tell you, especially in a big city. I'm a guy, so I can't speak for Kath or any other women, but I have a daughter, and she has told me that living in Chicago is a nightmare, especially in the summer, because apparently this catcalling, wolf whistling crap is season dependent. It's more in the summer.
Well, why is that?
They wear less clothes. The
Right,
girls wear
exactly.
less clothes, and,
And
there's more
there's more
people
guys on the street.
especially in
In
Chicago,
groups.
where in the winter nobody's on the street. But anyway, she said that it's a nightmare, and she feels threatened. She feels in danger. The streets in Chicago are not safe. There's so many sexual assaults, and this is really street harassment. And you feel threatened. You feel frightened, and you don't know if the catcall is just the beginning of another step, more violent and more intrusive step. And also, I feel like catcalling most of the time is the guys. It seems like it's some kind of embedded genetic caveman thing. I always feel like it's the dumbest thing to do in the world because, first of all, what do you expect is going to happen? If you are not a harasser that is thinking about sexual attack, what do you expect is going to happen? The girl's going to turn and say, "Oh my God, you're so hot! Thank God you catcalled me. I'm going to hook up with you."
I don't think it has to do anything with that. I think it has to do with rape culture, and it has to do with
Let's
power.
scare this
and
person.
let's either scare them or let them know that we're looking at them as an object,
Yes.
not
Yes.
as a person.
And also, there's control.
That's it's all about
there's
that
control issue because usually they say something like "smile,
Yeah.
baby," or shake that ass or something, and they're trying to control like a puppeteer, to feel the power and the control over a woman who's gonna be scared.
Yeah.
There was you know what
I don't think that. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I think, and I just had this conversation with my wife the other night. Is that we, as males, we like any other thing, we will never understand that fear that females have when they walk down the street and they have to make and there's a male coming the other way that's bigger or whatever. They have to make a
Those are just
decision.
labels.
They have to make. They have to make a decision in that moment. Do I walk past them and see if what they're going to do? Do I decide to cross the street? What is my thing? Because this person could overpower me
Yeah.
and rape me. That's what women think about.
You have to deal with on a daily basis now. Imagine when he tells you "smile, baby," and through your heads probably all kinds of scenarios are going. What if I
Yep.
don't smile?
Yep.
Is that going to escalate him? Is he going to get violent? Is he
Yep.
going to feel like I'm putting him down if I don't smile, if I don't shake my ass when he says shake your ass? So these women are most likely petrified. If I witness something like this, first of all, I'd be embarrassed for the entire gender because it's so freaking embarrassing that somebody would do something like it. At least to me, I would like blush. I'm like, I'll try to like say I'm sorry for it. I want to apologize for the entire gender. Yeah.
One of the things that I find myself with this question going back to is I had a girlfriend 1,000 years ago who went to work, and she went into London on the tube, and she had to walk past a building site where she got catcalled every day. And I remember her coming home one time in tears because she'd just had enough.
Yeah.
And I sort of offered to perhaps walk with her, to where she worked, and so I did. And these guys, I was going, really, you want whatever, they were just Irish builders.
Just?
They were Irish builders, and they didn't give a shit whether I was there or not. What they saw was a pretty 21-year-old, 20-year-old girl.
That they could intimidate.
I don't believe they were thinking of it like that.
But that's what they were doing.
Yes, true. They may have been doing it, but I don't think they were thinking. They just thought, "Wow, that's a nice piece of tail."
Because that's rape culture. That is embedded in. I believe not until recently, when we started having a little more brain power, that it's in the DNA, right? To overpower, to be the more dominant
Doggy
species.
style.
Yeah, and it hasn't been. I mean, that's still in our DNA, and that is why that exists. Now we're starting to be able to think for ourselves in the last 200 to 300 years and say, oh, that's probably not right. But that still is in there to say, hey, I can overpower you, I can dominate you at any time, and it's not about sex, it's not about anything. It's to say, you are weaker than me.
It's
I disagree. I disagree. I don't think that it is. I don't think that every guy that does it with the intent of intimidating. I think that guys can be as confused as anybody else and genuinely misunderstand the effect that they're having when they do that they think that they're doing
that they're complimenting.
Yeah,
they think that they're complimenting. They're gonna make that lady feel good for the rest of the day because
I'm not saying that it's right.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
but I agree that some men think that probably.
And I would. I put it this way, I have difficulty reconciling the fact that that there are lots of people that I know that have done things that, on hindsight, are probably not the most liberated, egalitarian move that you could make when you're dealing with members of the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that just because a guy steals a kiss, that a guy...
what does stealing a kiss mean?
Literally, like you run up to a girl you don't know and kiss her on the cheek.
Oh.
No. But it happens at, like, if you're 13 years old.
Then you'll be introduced to
it.
the maze culture.
Does it mean that you're subscribing to an active theory of rape culture? Or does it mean that you haven't learned better?
I think it's embedded. So I don't
So
think
it's caveman,
it's
gene,
or it's
DNA.
Modeled. So I think it's a little of
Social.
both. And then social stuff. So
that's why men
there are
don't
things
get
there are 13-year-olds that are going to make mistakes, right? That's the reality of it. But 21, 35, 45-year-old men,
I disagree again.
they don't know. That is what is embedded so much is that it's okay to do that. Oh, I just stole a kiss. But it's still about power. The fact that I got to do that because I can still do it.
So Jeremy,
it's they let you touch their pussies.
What?
They
He's
let
talking
you
about our
touch
president.
their pussies.
oh, the president.
According
that is
to
rape
Trump.
culture.
Apparently, that's okay.
Well, I think that if you start from the position that it's rape culture, it's obviously rape culture. But I think that there is a part of learning to respect people as individual agents of their own body that,
Of course.
are outside the idea that because I'm a guy, I can get what I want. And I think those are two different things.
Do you remember?
But that's retraining our brains.
No. I agree that it's retraining our brains, but I think that it is easy to say that it's the same thing.
But the point is, and I'll leave you with this thought, it's okay.
What's okay?
Putting your hand on women's pussies because the president has said it is okay.
great.
And I'm not
Day in the morning.
joking. I'm being serious. If the president of the United States says it's okay to do that,
The fish rots from the head. So, do you guys remember a couple of months ago, maybe more than a couple of months, that girl that started taking pictures of her catcallers? Do you remember this meme?
yeah.
It was all over. It was brilliant. She was this good-looking girl from Denmark or the Netherlands or something, and she got fed up with it. And she said, "I'm going to start taking selfies with the catcallers and include the lines that they used on me." And they didn't get it at all. They would like pose with her and laugh, and her point was to bring attention to the issue and how horrible it is. She was always very sad on those pictures, and they were always like grinning
Thinking
and
that they were
happy, that they were great.
Yeah.
And she really brought attention to the issue more than anybody else. I mean, this was all over the world. People were looking at it, and they got to thinking about it. It was kind of a brilliant little move.
Think about how much literal danger she put herself in.
And she said it.
Yeah.
She said it back then. She said, "I don't want anybody else to do this because it's not the safest thing to do." But it was really disturbing. The lines also that were used on her consistently, and also the variety of men on those pictures. Young, old construction workers, people in cars, people wearing suits. It was
Anybody you wanted the kick out of dominating somebody.
and there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You've been listening to Wednesday Night Undressed.
Oh, yeah, the sponsors. I want to
Yes.
introduce you guys to our 2018 principal sponsor. And it's going to be Columbia House Club Record Club. Columbia House is going to sponsor. They have promised to sponsor our first 10 shows of 2018 for 1 cent. They're going to give us 1 cent, but each next month they will provide $57 if we buy each month a record starting in January with the best of Blue Oyster Cult.
And we are hoping,
Air Supply.
actually.
And the price of the record, of course, is going to be $59.
Want to thank the folks for coming on, Kathleen and Josh, Dr. Orlando Evo. I'm Jeremy Taylor, the Brit on the radio. We'd like to thank our producers, engineer Neil Rasmussen, and of course Eric, the producer. You've been listening to Wednesday Night Undressed, and don't forget, Doctor Who's a woman. Get over it.